everybody. I am out of the microtel, where my room definitely put the micro in microtel. I am approaching the high-speed on-ramp. So gotta be very careful here. Actually, it looks alright. A little detour McGee face on the side here. This is gonna lead me up to the Withlacoochee State Trail. One could start to hear this while off the morning traffic on Interstate 75 as it makes its way north and south along the west side of Florida. Alright, here's where I make my turn off. Start heading west from a northerly direction. Oh, looks like they communicate in American Sign Language. Look at this, rolling into the Brooksville train depot already. After passing the Brooksville train depot, took a side trip into the small town of Brooksville. Little serpentine going on the way down. We're about 2 miles out of Brooksville, backing on this nicely paved rec path which parallels the road. Oh, if this guy climbed all the way to the top of a totem pole, he would still be the low man on the totem pole. There it is, just passed over into the double digits for this trip. 99.9 miles to go. I've got almost 25 miles on the day and probably about another 51, 52 today on the Suncoast Trail. And you can see the sun is out today. Probably hear it at this point. We are approaching the Spirit Tree. Well, interesting stop to be sure. Originally started with one person, Josephine Guadagnino, started it as a memorial garden, and over the years more and more people have congregated to hang wind chimes and all sorts of memorial accoutrements to their loved ones. You know, I do appreciate that there was a pedestrian detour on the trail. Because normally you'd be riding a trail and they got some work on it, or they're replacing a culvert or something for automobiles, and they just shut down the trail, like, trail closed, that's it, find your own way. Boy, am I glad to be off that Suncoast Trail. Suncoast Trail is a great resource in Florida, but it just goes parallel to the Suncoast Tow Road, so it's just loud, very exposed to the sun, coast. And now I get to go through, I think it's the Starky Wilderness, so let's go. I think this is about a 6-mile stretch, but I always thought this stretch was one of the highlights of my coast-to-coast route. So really nice stretch of trail through this low pine scrub, and other riders using the trail. Yeah, I really like the vibe on this trail. Love it. Looking at that flag, and that is the direction I'm going in. Tailwind, baby. Here's the other side of Florida, with a Strode on one side and a car dealership on the other. Just stopped in at Dairy Queen and got a double cheeseburger. I needed something in the system because I could just feel myself slowing down. So I needed to get some calories, and I wanted to get some protein calories, and DQ was basically the only option available. This is nice. The trail goes right down the center island of the street, and the traffic goes to the right that way, and that way on the left. Right through Tarpon Springs. So at this point, I've ridden 230 miles or so of the coast to coast, and I have not seen a single eastbound rider, or a married one for that matter. Duck crossing. Express. About to check out the West End Market. Looks like this might be an option for dinner tonight. Just out of the visitor center here in my overnight stop, and I finally got the official pronunciation. I figure, what better place at a visitor center to tell me the correct pronunciation? It's not Dunedin, it's not Dunedin, it's not Dunedin, it's Dunedin. Opened my door to go to breakfast. What was on my door handle? A little Cinco de Mayo pack. That's pretty cool. Muchas gracias. So today is hitting on all cylinders. Special napkins in addition to what they put on my door handle. Breakfast bar here that really hits. The coffee comes from a Robo coffee machine and it is good. I looked at my routing options today, and rather than looping all the way around into St. Petersburg and then coming back up to Tampa, I decided to kind of go where I am in Dunedin, kind of straight across to the Tampa airport. This gets me over a new section of a causeway. It's about 4 miles that goes across the Old Tampa Bay, and it puts me basically right at the foot of the airport and my hotel. "8 a.m. I am out of the hotel. I am on the Pinellas Trail, rolling out of Dunedin. There we are, as I pass under the Dunedin banner. Routed a shorter route today than my original 48. I'm doing about 22, 25 or so because I needed a shorter day after about 230 straight on the bike in 3 days. I roll up here and I see this sign. I figure, like Little Caesar says, pizza, pizza. And this place says, I see your pizza, pizza, and I raise you a pizza. This is really nice. It looks like an electric tower infrastructure right of way, but rather than just making this a barren no man's land, they put a paved bicycle trail underneath it to give people recreational opportunities. Is it the most scenic? You could argue that. But man, it's a lot better than being on a loud road, I'll tell you that. Well, this is a bummer. I've got a gate here with a fence. I'm not able to use this bridge. So I decided to look at my maps to see if I could get across and see if there's an alternate way around. I figured I was going to go down and cross over the creek, but as you can see here, it says Alligator Creek. Homeboy ain't crossing that. I would imagine that apartment complex is called something like Tudor Arms. Okay, so it's called Harbor Town. I was wrong. While it's quiet, there's the bike path. I'm happy that's here on this causeway, because this vehicular traffic is just loud. Alright, you see that lovely bike path there? You see that not so lovely gate? That means this side's closed. The construction worker told me this will be open in about 2 weeks, but I'm not waiting around for that. Probably about another 3 minutes to cross here. It's gonna be nice when it's finished. Here over to the pedestrian side, and this should take me all the way into Tampa. Now that is awesome. said, "Hey, Paul, isn't your camera normally on the other side of your bike?" I say, "You are super observant. I switched it around because all the good scenery is on this side." Wind's in the face, but I don't care. I've got 10 miles to go. If I ever came back, I would definitely use this causeway. It is a far nicer transport across Old Tampa Bay. Is the pedestrian bike path. That is Route 60. So a whole separate infrastructure just for cycles. I was gonna take a break, but these chairs are hard as a rock. Nice little beach there, the Ben T. Davis Beach. Yeah! That's awesome! Woo! I want to do that again!
Nice to be biking around, huh?
Yeah, not too shabby. You know, roll in here with about 3.5 days of riding on my gear, and I figured this is a nicer place than usual. Usually it's a roadside motel or something. It's not every day you get a 1-bedroom suite in a hotel when you're on a bike tour. But there are those times when you do that it's pretty darn awesome. I've got the most scenic view of the interstate you could possibly have.